Hi, I'm Aaron, and this is my show, Re-Education. And I'm an anarcho-communist now. And I'm sure as interested as all of you must be to hear about how I transformed from conservative to classical liberal to anarcho-communist, I feel like there's a few more things in the world that are a little bit more important than that. And we're going to discuss them in this new video series that I'm calling How to Revolution. Let's get started. You know, it's interesting. Through the course of history, you tend to notice that things don't necessarily repeat themselves, but they do somewhat echo. And something that's been constantly echoing through my brain recently is the old saying, you have to know thy enemy as you know thyself. So, let's talk about ourselves. What exactly is our goal? I mean, a lot of you out there are Marxists, Leninists, socialists, anarchists like myself. It would be to fight fascism, right? Okay, well, to know exactly how to fight fascism, we have to know what fascism is. So what exactly is the definition of fascism? Well, an old but very correct definition would be the belligerent nationalist dictatorship of the extreme right, typically achieved through the merging of state and business. So that would mean that to fight fascism, we would have to fight the state. So how exactly would we go about doing something like that? That sounds like an incredibly large task. I don't know how we would even be able to begin to achieve such a thing. And my answer would be through direct action. So you're probably saying to yourself, oh, so now we need to go around hitting people, right? Wrong. Direct action doesn't necessarily mean violent action. It just means that you don't rely on politics. The way that I like to look at it is, don't punch the Nazi, punch the message. Sometimes you still have to punch the Nazi, though. How do we go about doing this? How do we initiate direct action? The best thing to do is to think tactically. Now, there are a few things that you have to know. Nazis, and neoliberals for that matter, are basically just the hired goons of the state. They work for capital. They are not necessarily the elites. They are not necessarily the ones in control. They are hired goons. What happens when you punch them? Well, punching the goons feels really good, but it looks really bad to potential allies. You have to remember something. The right wing, the far right, the extreme right, the fascists, they're not stupid. And Nazis aren't idiots. There's one thing that they understand very well. That's good optics. And good optics is something that we on the left could really stand to learn a little bit about. Part of those optics is that all of the Nazis and neoliberals tend to wear suits. And all manner of propaganda makes us believe that people that wear suits are good, honest individuals who should be respected. I mean, we as anarchists, socialists, communists, and so forth probably don't believe that, but the majority of people don't see people wearing suits as the enemy. They see them as being good guys. So when you have somebody like Richard Spencer, who is wearing a suit, holding himself quite well, talking very elegantly to the camera, even though what he's saying is absolutely reprehensible, and then you all of a sudden have somebody from Antifa come and punch him in the face. The person from Antifa is dressed in black, their face is covered, they look like a thug, they seem like a criminal. I would never condone violence, but if you are going to hit somebody, I would suggest that you dress up not like a mass marauder, but more like, I don't know, a plumber or a nurse. At least that way it looks like the Nazi is getting punched out by a regular individual. If you put that show on mute, who's going to look like the aggressor in this situation? It's going to be the good guy. We don't want that to happen. That's why you have to think tactically. But that also means that you don't want to fall into the liberal trap. Holding hands outside of a Denny's in the dedicated free speech zone will not make change. Voting will not make change. And making a change.org petition will not make change. So, then you ask yourself, how do we fight these people? We can't hit them, and we can't take the high ground, so what do we do? Well, it's simple. We have to give them a stronger message. So what does that mean? What is this message? What am I talking about? Well, let's go back to the very beginning. Remember, at the very start of this, I introduced the topic by saying, know your enemy as you know yourself. Now let's get to know them. How do you think that we would do that, though? Should we go spying on their community? Should we start tapping their phone lines? Should we put intel agents into each one of their Facebook channels and just find out every single little thing that they're doing? Well, maybe that might not hurt, but a better solution would be to know their tactics. So what are their tactics? Well, that's something we're going to get into in the next video with the first tactic, control the conversation. Thanks for watching.